Tomorrow marks 60 years since the March on Washington, a moment many consider a turning point in the fight for civil rights in this country. CBS 2's Hannah Kliger introduces us to three women who were there and witnessed that tremendous day firsthand.
It's considered one of the largest political rallies for human rights in our country's history.
I don't know if I necessarily looked at it as what it would mean historically down the road, but what I knew was that there was an opportunity for change.
Sisters Judy Gough and Odehyah Gough-Israel were 13 and 11 years old, respectively, living in Washington, D.C. at the time. Coming from a politically involved family, they were allowed to attend the march on their own.
I was fortunate enough to have parents who understood, and so I would just hop on the bus and go to these events.
The march is credited with helping to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and then the Voting Rights Act of 1965, according to historian Carolyn Eisenberg. She didn't only dedicate her career to teaching history, she lived it, attending the march as an 18-year-old incoming college freshman.
One thing that is often forgotten was there was a tremendous amount of fear-mongering that was going on surrounding that march. The Kennedy administration was hostile to the march. They didn't want it to happen. And they were putting pressure on civil rights leaders to call it off.
The stretch between the Lincoln Memorial and Washington Monument was the venue for arguably one of the most famous speeches in recent history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s address to a highly divided nation. All three of these women remember hearing the speeches, seeing people in the sweltering heat, and realizing they were witnessing history. They say the feelings of that day are easy to recall, even now.
The sun is rising, and you're looking down, and you're seeing all these different people coming in, and this tremendous spirit that was present. I don't think I ever felt that again in quite the same way. It was like that really you are at the moment of like a historic change.
The people, the crowds, the event itself. I'm not sure I knew I'd be talking about it 60 years later.
Yet 6 decades later, that day is not just remembered, but used as a mile marker to gauge how far we've come and how much further we have yet to go.
I think there's a lot more on the side of improvement and advancement and equality, and that wasn't the case in 1963. I think a lot of people, while they may have not approved of the way people of color were treated, they were afraid to speak out, but I don't think that's the case anymore.
It was a day most of us have only learned about in history books. Today, with their help, it's relived firsthand.
And tomorrow night, join Maurice Dubois for a fascinating look back at this historic moment in time. Hear from families of key organizers and some who were there. The March on Washington 60 Years airs Monday night at 5:30 right here on CBS 2.